She's just evil. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing like her.
Why would she even tweet that?
Sits around
that's the
in
whole
her
point.
evil way.
Viewers, brace yourselves. What unfolded on live television was less of a debate and more of a reality show meltdown. Hillary Clinton, long known for her icy confidence, became the unexpected star of a celebrity-style roast when commentator Tyrus unleashed a takedown that could rival any late-night gossip segment. With the flair of a wrestling champion and the punchlines of a stand-up comic, he ripped through her image with stories that sounded more like tabloid headlines than political history. He painted her as a woman who lives in a world of secrets, guarded closets, and endless scandals that refuse to fade. It wasn't about policy, it was about reputation, personality, and drama, the kind of television moment that hooks viewers in, daring them to stick around to see what bombshell comes next. Tyrus didn't stop at the theatrics, he sharpened his focus on Hillary's enduring public image. He described her as a figure who walks into every room as though she owns it, armed with credentials as long as a grocery receipt, yet perpetually failing to earn genuine voter trust. According to his analysis, no matter how much influence, money, or prestige she amasses, she cannot shake the reality that ordinary Americans see her as disconnected. Her decades of calculated ambition, he argued, make her appear less like a leader and more like a bureaucratic machine. Tyrus's commentary framed Clinton's entire career as one long performance of entitlement, an act that convinces insiders but falls flat with the people who actually decide elections. Central to Tyrus's takedown was the catastrophic memory of 2016. Losing to Donald Trump, he said, wasn't just a political defeat, but a humiliation worthy of record books. He mocked the laundry list of excuses Clinton rolled out afterward: Russia, Facebook memes, James Comey, sexism, even Bernie Brothers, suggesting that her refusal to accept responsibility revealed her true character. For Tyrus, this became comedy gold, because the spectacle of a seasoned politician blaming everyone but herself turned her from a formidable figure into a punchline. He portrayed the defeat as not just a personal failure, but a national moment of reckoning, one that exposed how arrogance and inevitability could collapse in spectacular fashion when faced with genuine voter rejection. The email scandal received renewed focus in Tyrus's roast, as he painted a vivid picture of Hillary's private server being less secure than a teenager's Tumblr blog. Classified documents, according to his comparison, sat like low-hanging fruit waiting for hackers. He accused Clinton of behaving as if the rules didn't apply to her, flaunting secrecy as though it was just another privilege of power. And when the scandal broke, he emphasized, her response wasn't remorse but casual dismissal, as though the whole matter were a minor hiccup. For viewers, this segment reminded them of a defining controversy that symbolized arrogance, poor judgment, and a lack of accountability, qualities that Tyrus argued made her unfit for the highest office she so desperately sought. Benghazi was another moment that Tyrus resurrected to devastating effect. He recalled her infamous smirk during congressional hearings, a look he suggested was meant to outlast pressure but instead cemented her reputation for coldness. Tyrus framed the tragedy as more than just a political scandal. It was a human test of leadership, one in which Hillary failed by showing detachment instead of empathy. Her stoic patience, he claimed, wasn't resilience but deflection, a refusal to face accountability head-on. For the audience, this reminder of Benghazi underscored why critics often view Clinton not as a leader with compassion, but as a strategist who treats crises as obstacles to be managed rather than tragedies to be mourned. Campaign strategy was another target of Tyrus's brutal humor. He highlighted Hillary's attempt to connect with younger voters by carrying hot sauce in her purse, ridiculing it as awkward and out of touch. To him, it was the equivalent of Windows 95 trying to run TikTok, a clumsy and outdated attempt to seem relevant. He painted her outreach efforts as staged skits rather than genuine gestures, saying they only reinforced the image of a politician desperately seeking authenticity she never possessed. Instead of appearing like the cool grandma, she came across as the stern school librarian, out of step with cultural moments and unable to build trust with the demographic she needed most. When Tyrus turned to Hillary's foreign policy resume, his tone was cutting. He compared her globe-trotting diplomacy to being an expensive tourist funded by taxpayers, racking up air miles but accomplishing little of substance. Likewise, he dismantled the image of the Clinton Foundation as a noble charity, casting it instead as a vending machine where donations equaled influence. Once her political power faded, the donations dried up, exposing what he argued was always the truth, that it was never about saving the world, but about staying close to Clinton's inner circle. In his telling, these achievements were hollow shells, impressive only on paper but meaningless to the people she claimed to serve. Tyrus also revisited the mountain of scandals linked to Hillary over the years: Whitewater, Travelgate, Filegate, Uranium One. He described them as ornaments on a political Christmas tree, collected one after another yet somehow never sinking her career. He mocked her ability to survive them as cockroach-like, unwanted but indestructible, crawling back into relevance no matter how many blows she takes. The metaphor was harsh, but it underscored his central theme: Clinton's career isn't defined by victories or inspiration, but by an uncanny ability to endure scandals without ever truly clearing her name. Her persistence, he suggested, was almost as disturbing as the scandals themselves. The infamous basket of deplorables comment was portrayed as the moment Clinton signed her own political death certificate. Tyrus emphasized how insulting millions of Americans in one sweeping phrase revealed not just misjudgment, but outright contempt for voters. He framed it as the political equivalent of calling your dinner guests trash before asking them to pass the salt, a blunder that alienated the very people she needed to persuade. For Tyrus, this single line captured her entire problem: arrogance disguised as inevitability. Rather than building bridges, she torched them, and when those voters rejected her, she acted shocked, unable to comprehend that her words had consequences. In closing, Tyrus framed Hillary Clinton's entire legacy as a tragic comedy. She wanted to be remembered as the first woman president, but instead she became the first to lose to Trump, a paradox he described as her cruelest punchline. Her ambition, calculation, and entitlement were clear, but her authenticity was absent, leaving her unable to inspire the very people she needed. He painted her as the political ghost of elections past, still lingering, still speaking, still demanding recognition, but remembered more for scandals, arrogance, and bitterness than for trailblazing achievements. In his words, she was the woman who had everything but failed to win the only prize she truly wanted, and that failure has become the defining story of her career. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.